With a whopping 2.8 trillion contribution to the nation's GDP, Hispanic businesses are helping to shape the economy. We discuss this and more with Carlos Medina, President and CEO of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Choose to get lost in the woods to gain experience in forest management.
Choose to travel through time to understand the past.
Choose to soar to pursue a career in dance.
Stockton University offers 50 high-quality academic programs, small class sizes, and affordable tuition. Choose to match your interests and talents at one of New Jersey's nationally ranked universities.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation, and Stockton University. This edition of Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is brought to you by the HD Studios at the campus of Stockton University.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare. For more information, call 1-888-569-1000 or visit atlanticare.org. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.
Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. I'm happy to have as my guest Carlos Medina. He is the President, CEO of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. Carlos, welcome back to Latino Motion.
Thanks for having me, Bert. Pleasure to be here.
I don't know if you remember, but when we first started taping Latino Motion at Stockton University, you were one of my first guests, so it's so happy to have you back. It's been quite a while, and I'm so happy to have you here once again.
Definitely. I remember going to the studio many moons ago.
And now we're doing virtual, but it's a lot easier, obviously. Sure. Let's talk about what's hot right now for the chamber and you yourself in terms of being involved in pushing an issue forward, which is having representation on the Federal Reserve. Why is that so important to have a Latino represented in the Federal Reserve?
Bert, it's so frustrating for me as, the president of the chamber to talk to organizations, not only the Federal Reserve, but there's still some major organizations in New Jersey that don't have one Hispanic on their board of directors when we're over 20% of the population. And the numbers that we're doing, what they call Hispanic GDP, which stands for gross domestic product. The number is off the charts. We're doing $97 billion a year annually here in New Jersey, adding to the economy. So decisions that are made by our board of directors should reflect the people that they serve. So the Federal Reserve Bank does not have a Hispanic right now, and they're making decisions that affect all of our lives. So it's just incomprehensible that decisions are made in a room and you're not represented. And companies such as Adidas, have made huge errors. They spelled the country of Colombia wrong years ago in an advertising campaign. I would argue because they didn't have people at the table that knew Spanish and understand our culture. So that's the danger at the Federal Reserve Bank. And Senator Menendez has taken an aggressive posture on that. And I agree with him. We need to have somebody that looks like us, thinks like us over there to protect our interests. I don't want decisions to be made on interest rates and other policies. And there's so many things that the Federal Reserve does. I want them to have my interest and the Hispanic community's interest at heart at all time when they're doing that. And
I would say it's a matter of respect, right? You have 20% of the population that is makes up the population of the U.S., 62 million. And you mentioned about the GDP. It's 2.8 trillion, which is higher than all but just 4 other countries in the world. So that contribution alone merits a recognition, certainly merits to have the type of representation that you're referring to. let's talk a little bit more. You mentioned New Jersey specifically. Obviously, you're the state chamber here in New Jersey. Tell me more about the makeup of the businesses, Latino businesses in New Jersey.
Yeah, we guesstimate there's anywhere from 120 to 150,000 Hispanic-owned businesses in New Jersey. We're resilient. During COVID, while many stores and businesses stayed shuttered, Hispanic businesses continued to grow, thrive, show up to work, do their job. We over-index in that same study, not only in the workforce, but back in 2009, when we had our last Great Recession, Hispanic businesses were doubling and tripling while Main Street businesses were declining. They were shutting the doors. They were boarding up their windows. That happened again in COVID. And we're seeing again, like in 2009, Hispanic businesses are saving the day. We're opening new businesses. We're growing. We're helping colleagues. We're helping all colleagues on Main Street, whether they be other diverse businesses or mainstream businesses. We're just here to help and help the economy. But again, we just keep on getting the bad reputation that somehow we're the opposite. We're a drag on the economy, when in fact we are the engine driving the New Jersey economy.
And one of the leaders in that drive certainly is the new startups and businesses. They're led by Latinas. Latinas play a big part in the new startups and businesses. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, Latinas start businesses 2 to 3 times of the pace of Latinos. So we're already, eclipsing other ethnic groups at starting businesses, but women, Latinas, are starting even greater. So, for example, we're doing an annual event called The Art of Being a Modern Latina, where we recognize the struggles that women have when they're running a business, running a household, juggling things that could be different from a man who's running a business. So we try to have experts there, Latinas that have made it, to tell their stories on how they've been able to run a successful business and have a successful career, have a successful work-family balance, which is so complicated today with COVID and other issues. But Latinas are doing it. They're starting the businesses. And we had to pivot with that event, and we pivoted with an event, a training event that we have for Latinas called LETS, Latina Entrepreneurship Training Series. Actually, the Chamber trademarked that. And that's a module of about 15 weeks, 3 to 4 hours a week. They dedicate similar to this on a Zoom. They don't have to come in person anymore. That's one of the lessons we learned during COVID. So they don't have to commute, leave their job, leave their family, and do it remotely. But it's been very successful. We've seen Latinas double, triple revenue, hire employees, get certifications, get new opportunities to bid on projects. So it's been exciting and fun at the same time.
Now, I recently had John Herman, who is the founder and president of the African American Chamber, on the show recently. He alluded to the fact of the underrepresentation. It's in all sectors, and you kind of alluded to that as well. It's so important to have that representation in all sectors, not limited to one sector, which would traditionally have had that discrimination and certainly roadblocks. What do you think are the main points to address those roadblocks?
It's just educating folks. Interesting, as you mentioned, I was on a panel recently with John, so we talked about discrimination in both our communities, and we try to, it's a very similar battle we're facing, one of perception. The African American community has been able to, I'll use the word, clear the road often and bring issues to light that both communities are able to benefit from. And in turn, I try to also do the same thing. So when I'm knocking on a bank store, a corporation store, I'm letting them know of their shortfalls, not only with the Hispanic community, but with other diverse communities. We help, there's a loose coalition of chambers. John is a very important member. We are a member. And then there's the new Pride Chamber. And there's also the Veteran Chamber that's involved in many of our events. And then there's a women's chamber also that there's a loose coalition. All what we say is we're all diverse chambers looking to just have a seat at the table at the end of the day and have the opportunity to do business with these companies. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for any type of favoritism. We just want to have equal access.
Exactly. Equal access is what it's about, and certainly leveling the playing field. Well, Carlos, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to continue this discussion. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion. Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue our discussion with Carlos Medina. He is the president and CEO of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. And Carlos, we were talking about the major impact that Latino businesses are having in our GDP here in the United States, 2.8 trillion, which is just about 4 other countries in the world that have a higher GDP. So it's an amazing run. We want to talk a little bit more about some of the hurdles that Latino businesses face. And I know that you have alluded in the past that access to capital is probably the top one. Tell me more.
Yeah, many Hispanic business owners will turn to family, friends to borrow money, or they'll go on their credit card, which might mean they're paying 30% interest on their credit card, which is crazy. So access to capital, we still don't get venture capital. African Americans and Hispanics do not get venture capital. I think we get 1% of all the VC money that's out there. So many of us are just not bankable. We're here first generation, perhaps our credit score isn't up there. So we try to help folks with their credit score. We have an organization called the Hispanic Chamber Fund that's not technically part of the chamber, but they're applying for CDFI status, Community Development Financial Institution. And the idea is to loan money at a fair rate, single-digit interest rate, to people that could not go to a bank and get them bankable. We don't want to compete with a bank. The idea is get them a $10,000, $20,000 loan, help them get the merchandise, the equipment to start their business, and in a year, 2 years, show up cash flow and be able to go to a bank. And we have a lot of banking relationships. So the idea is, even if they're not quite ready, that together the CDFI with the bank will get them to the place that they could enjoy capital and expand their business in a way that, every business person should have that ability in this country.
And certainly, Carlos, I know that that there's also redlining and discrimination that takes place. And we also know that there are many businesses just don't go after the capital, right? So what are you doing to educate both sides of the, if you will, both the lenders as well as the businesses?
Yeah, so we have the training classes that I mentioned. We have one of the modules is called Meet the Lenders. So we'll bring in a traditional bank, but we'll also bring in CDFIs and other alternative lenders so they could talk about their programs. And the beauty is that sometimes the banker will meet the individual from the CDFI. They form a relationship and they say, as you get these businesses that are becoming more mature, more sophisticated, send them my way, because I know you're being fair. You're charging them single digit, let's say 8%, but perhaps they could get money at 4%, at 5%. So certainly at the end of the day, the business's viability and ability to keep their costs low is what's driving us. So if they could move from a CDFI to a bank, that would be our dream. So it's educating both sides and just having a relationship, letting them speak and hear the stories of what their hurdles are. And that way banks could be a little more nimble, maybe react a little quicker to the struggles of the entrepreneur. So we've been successful so far. We've been able to get a lot of our members access to capital through the training program and the Meet the Lenders program.
Which is very important. And Carlos, I know that many small businesses particularly kind of stay local, right? They stay within a lane and perhaps doing business within just their community. But I know that it's so important to broaden that access in terms of doing business in the mainstream. Tell me more about what you're doing to help open up those opportunities for small businesses.
Sure, that's part of our training class. We try to introduce individuals to the mainstream market. It's it's an easy way to start your business, and I don't discourage it. But if you're a CPA, you're a business consultant, you're a restaurant, you go to who you know and what you know. So it might be I have a Puerto Rican restaurant. I just want it to be Latinos that come in, but we help them go to mainstream, which means they have a larger marketplace to be able to sell their services or their products or their food if they're a restaurant. And it's just a numbers game, to have only 20% of the market, whatever, particular business you're in, is really a hurdle. So we want them to be able to have the entire New Jersey marketplace and tri-state area, bluntly, to be able to sell their services and their products to.
And obviously, I know that you have done this in the past. You have held minority supplier events to try to open up more of those opportunities. I know that this minority supplier events that you do are very helpful towards that.
Yeah, this year we've done a couple things. One has been we've helped people get their certification with the state of New Jersey. New Jersey waived the fee to be certified as a woman or minority-owned business. And actually, they just opened up to even be a LBGT plus business. And that gives you a little foot in the door. Corporations, as they look to diversify their spend portfolio, many will come to us. That's been the positive in the past 5 years, that organizations are coming to us and saying, here's a list of 20 products we need, 20 services. Can you send them out to your database? Or we'll even go into their office and help them with recruiting new buyers. Because at the end of the day, if you have more buyers selling you a widget, the price of the widget, you realize as a company, is going to be lower. So Right. It's good business policy. It's definitely not a favor or a handout. I just want them to go from 3 bidders to 6 or 7 bidders and have our members, the African American Chamber, the Veteran Chamber, the Pride Chamber. I want everybody to just be able to bid, and may the best company win. It's just fair and open. But as you know, in New Jersey, a lot of things are the old boys club, so to speak. They have people that they've been working with for years, so it could be challenging to get procurement into companies that don't want to open the doors. But luckily, I've seen many more companies opening the door in the past 5 years.
And obviously, there is a certification process, and being able to become approved as a minority vendor, there are certain steps that need to be taken. Are you also helping your organization or your members to meet those certifications requirements?
Yeah, we'll have workshops, and at the end of the workshop, we'll really hold their hand and help them get those forms filled out, and even have contacts at the state to check on the status if somebody's behind schedule or it seems like a long time to get their certification. We'll call them and give them a tickle just to remind them that we have some members in the system. But it's worked out well. We're glad the governor's office decided to waive that fee. It wasn't a huge fee, but every bit counts in a tough economy.
Now, success rates for Hispanic businesses. I know that generally speaking, 1 in 3 businesses fail. What's the success rate within the Hispanic community?
The experience at the chamber, since we do the classes, is very different in the sense, like when COVID hit, we had over 100 entrepreneurs, not many startups, because the classes that we give are a little more advanced. So generally those people have 50 to 100,000 minimum of billings. We've had people with millions of dollars in billings, and at least 1 or 2 years in business. But out of those 100 during COVID, not one had to close the door permanently. Some shuttered for 2 or 3 weeks just because of different mandates and regulations that wouldn't allow them back into their building. But as I said earlier, with the recession analogy from 2009, Hispanic businesses, they're battle tested. They really do not close the door unless there's like major hurdles, but during COVID, we stayed the course. Some restaurants fed their employees, send them home with doggy bags for the family so they wouldn't have to go from the restaurant to the supermarket. I mean, we use the hashtag, I know you're familiar, Bert, Familia at the chamber, but the Hispanic business community really impresses me every day in New Jersey because we help each other.
That's certainly important. We want to continue this discussion. We have a lot more to talk, and we certainly want to talk about the members. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion. Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue our discussion with Carlos Medina. He is the president and CEO of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. Carlos, we were talking about a great deal of things here and a great impact that the Latino community and Latino businesses have had in the economy of New Jersey. I want to talk a little bit more about the chamber, your Chamber of Commerce. Tell me a little bit about the background, the history of the chamber, and why it's so important to become part of that chamber.
Sure. We were founded in 1989. The main person who was the president back then was Dr. Daniel Jara. He was an individual who came from Peru, was wheelchair bound. So the fact that he got around the state and advocated for so many businesses in his condition is really a testament to his willpower and drive to help Hispanic businesses.
He was certainly an amazing man. He was all over the state.
Over the state. His wife would drive him in the handicap van. It was really impressive to see him arrive at events, honestly. But the chamber, we endeavor, as we did in 1989, to be, what I say is mainstream businesses here in New Jersey, they have Rolodexes from their family. They have a network. Right. Hispanic businesses, we're developing because we're very social people. So businesses are starting to develop network, but the chamber taps into that. And you get in a level where you're almost like a mid-level business day one because you're getting thousands of contacts. So we want to be that person that connects the dots for you. You could say, Carlos, I need a street opening permit. I need the ability to serve alcohol on my patio. And we're going to help you. We're going to connect you, whether it's a resource in Trenton, a resource in your county, or even in your municipality. We'll call your mayor where your business is located and call them out if we have to. But we're your attorney, advisor, CPA, all in one. So we're your best buddy to get advice. And if we can't give it to you, we're going to get the professional who's bilingual, who's going to help you.
Of course, there are businesses who live sort of paycheck by paycheck, right? And they don't see the value of investing in a membership to a chamber. Tell me more about why that's not a great argument, particularly if your business is struggling, and why.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Bert, I don't think it's a huge investment. And sometimes we'll give the first year at a discount. We have always discounts, even for those members that might be really on a tight budget. But some of the grants that have come out that we get very involved. We'll go in, we'll sit side by side on the computer and go through the forms and help you fill them out. But hundreds of thousands of dollars between the PPP, which were the payroll protection plan dollars. EDA put out money for electric vehicles. Dozens of these vehicles are now owned by Hispanic businesses. And there were bonuses if you were a Hispanic business, if you're a minority business, are you in the state? Are you in an urban enterprise zone? So many of these vehicles, which are electric vans, could cost $100,000 retail. We had members paying $20,000 out of pocket. So they were getting an $80,000 grant for these vehicles. And I could say that happened often all year. Some grants were $1,000. Some grants were as much as $100,000, as I said. And the PPP loans also were very large. We have restaurant businesses that had multiple locations, and they got very large PPP loans, as did mainstream businesses. So it's just making sure that our businesses apply and have the assistance needed to fill out these applications. So for a nominal fee, you're getting, I could tell you the amount of work we're putting into those to help with those applications. If you went to a lawyer or a notary public, just come to us. That's another little bit of a scam that we see sometimes in the Hispanic community is notary publics charge an arm and a leg to do something that they really shouldn't charge that more for. They charge for the PPP loans. They've charged for different types of tax returns and stuff. If you're not sure, it doesn't smell right, give us a call. We'll either just check out the person you're working with, or we'll find an alternative for you. But our goal at the end of the day is to provide a service that's reasonable and gives you a great return on your investment.
I know that you alluded to quite a number of programs, a lot of workshops that you do, but give me a little bit of rundown in terms of some of the programs.
Yeah, so a typical year for us will be the Art of Being a Modern Latina event is usually one of the first events of the year. Then we do a health fair, which this year we're planning to do in June at the American Dream Mall at the Meadowlands. We don't have the exact date, but we're looking at a June date for that. We'll take over a whole area. We'll have a lot of activities, all free food, free healthy food. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield is the underwriter. So it's the Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield Health Fair. We have a diversity event. We have a Feria de Negocio in July, which will take place in Edison, New Jersey. And then we close the year out with our gala in the winter, a winter gala, which is a celebration of our entrepreneurs, our corporations that have been partners with us, and just the success at the Chamber. So we do that at the end of the year in December.
And we know that in November, when you do come down to Atlantic City and you have a fiesta event as well.
Yes, during the League of Municipalities, which has been going on for over 100 years. Correct, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the navigating, right? I think you alluded to, you help them fill out the applications, et cetera. What are the type of navigating, particularly in this complex market, do you provide?
We'll go in, and sometimes, I mean, we've been good at helping the EDA put applications in Spanish, putting them on a platform which is easy for your smartphone, because a lot of our members prefer a smartphone, or they just don't have use of a laptop. Maybe the children are using it to do their homework and schoolwork. So we help them physically. I mean, come into our office, go into the form, or we do it over Zoom, and then they teach others. The beauty of our Chamber Familia, as I'll call it, we once had a call with a bunch of beauty salons to fill out some of these access to free money, grant money. And we taught about 10 beauty salons on the Zoom call. Then they had Zoom calls and in turn taught like another 400 beauty salons. They just kept on paying it forward. I just love that. I just love to see that, the family working together, not a jealousy, like I want to get that grant first. It's like, no, let's get it together. And if you get it and I don't get it, then, we all rise as a community. So it's
Carlos,
some of the...
We have 2 minutes and I want to talk about success stories.
Yep.
Tell me, you have two I want to hear about.
Sure. One was an individual who, his business prior to COVID was 15 wedding venues in 15 minutes. So he would have the goggles, 3D imagery, and a couple that was going to get married would go on their computer and look at venues without physically having to drive to 15 different locations, which could take multiple days. COVID hits, nobody's doing weddings, and I'm in a pickle because I'm trying to do expos, career fairs, and we develop, using his technology, the ability to do conferences with avatars and virtual booths, which is so successful that then Univision hires him to do some of their big events, and it's really taken off for him. So that's one success story. Another is La Fortaleza, which is a Mexican restaurant. He's a chain. He's probably up to 5 already. And he was trying to buy some of his locations. One of the hurdles our members face is leasing, and then the owner of the building ends their lease, sells the building. So we try to encourage and facilitate sales of buildings where your business is located. So during COVID, he purchased 2 new buildings, and that was 2 new locations for his restaurant. He won the Business of the Year in 2022 with the Chamber. So again, resiliency, familia, all working together to, at the end of the day, just succeed.
Carlos, I love those success stories, and certainly you alluded to the resiliency, so very critical for Latino businesses and minority businesses. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have, but it's a pleasure to have you here on Latino Motion. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Bert.
And thank you for joining us once again here on Latino Motion.
Choose to get your feet wet, to learn more about protecting our environment.
Choose to read minds, to understand the human brain.
Choose to get your hands dirty, to create a masterpiece.
Stockton University offers 50 high-quality academic programs, small class sizes, and affordable tuition. Choose to match your interests and talents at one of New Jersey's nationally ranked universities.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare. For more information, call 1-888 569-1000 or visit atlanticare.org. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world, and South Jersey Gas.